On this edition of A-10 Hoops Talk, we'll look at some of the greatest players that have laced up their sneakers in the A-10. We acknowledge that there are a lot of former A-10 players deserving of this praise, but for this show, we've landed on 6. Find out who they are on A-10 Hoops Talk, Beyond the Paint, starting right now. Hey everyone, welcome to the A-10 studio at A-10 Hoops Talk Beyond the Paint. I'm Tom McCarthy, and joining me is longtime St. Joseph's head coach Phil Martelli. For the next half hour, we'll be talking with some great former A-10 players. And Phil, there's a long list of really good A-10 players over the years. Give me an idea what makes a great Atlantic 10 player.
These young men that we're going to meet and the many others that are out there that were all league and postseason MVPs, they got an opportunity to play early. The second thing is, and I guarantee this is a theme that goes throughout, they all will say I had great teammates, players that allowed me to do me and sacrifice themselves. That's what we're going to find.
All right, Phil, it's an honor to welcome these two guys to the show. Lou Rowe was the 1995 Atlantic 10 Player of the Year, and UMass retired his number 15 jersey. Aaron McKie was a star at Temple under head coach John Chaney and was the 1993 A-10 Player of the Year. Aaron, Lou, we appreciate you guys joining us. Thank you for coming on today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me.
You know, we talk about UMass and Temple, and first question, do you guys still hear your college coaches' voices in your head even to this day? Aaron, I'll ask you first.
I can't. How do you get rid of Coach Chaney voice? How you get rid of that? You know, I had the pleasure of being able to watch him as a kid. You know, growing up in Philadelphia, a lot of our summer league games as a kid was at McGonigal Hall, and you know, anytime Coach Chaney came strolling through there, he was holding court. It was great to be around him, and I just always hear that voice with that little that laugh of his.
How about you, Lou?
Cal has always been a great motivator. And on anything that I do in life, you know, I just hear that voice, you know, just don't give up, keep fighting. And he's been an inspiration for many of his players, even to today. That's why a lot of the guys stay in constant contact with him. And I just love the experience that I had with him and his staff. And he's been kind of like a second father to me in most of my life.
I think the other similarity that jumped out to me as we prepared for this was the idea, yes, Players of the Year in the Atlantic 10, but both of you participated in programs at UMass and at Temple that were national programs. So you were pursuing a national schedule while competing in the Atlantic 10 for a championship. What was that like week to week to be playing Tuesday night in Olean, knowing that Saturday afternoon you're going to play a national TV game against UNLV? Aaron, what was that like for you?
Those conference games that we had, when we would go up to St. Bonaventure, Rhode Island, UMass, they were just as hard. I mean, a lot of those bigger schools that they want to call them certainly had the name recognition. You know, I guess they call it Power 5 now. But those conference games playing against the teams in Atlantic 10 was just as hard. And we always look forward to going outside of the conference and playing those teams because we always felt, you know, we were underappreciated and we had something to prove. So we wanted to go out and play those teams and make a statement behind it.
For me at UMass, Temple obviously had the recognition, a little bit more recognition than us, but UMass was an up-and-coming program still trying to prove themselves. So for me to play in Atlantic 10 and then play against an ACC team or something like that was just unbelievable.
Guys, what was the rivalry between UMass and Temple like, and how did it evolve?
I definitely wanted to beat them in a way where I went home in the summertime and I had to hear their mouths. So I made sure that my team was prepared. I made sure that we prepared the right way because I understood what kind of competition we was up against. So for me, I knew that those games were going to be rough. It was much basketball because the scores were always low, 50 to 56. I mean, it was like a boxing match, the old day boxing matches. You know, we were going back and forth with baskets and stuff like that. And both teams really played with a passion that's unmatched that I don't even see today.
What about you, Air? Yeah, what about you, Air?
I understood it. I understood what it meant. And, you know, here's a program, Temple University, probably was the gold standard in the Atlantic 10 at that point. And John Calipari and that UMass program was nipping at the heels. And again, each game and, you know, every time we played them was a chance to make a statement, either on their side of it or on our side.
The Philly basketball culture, how did that impact your ability to come into the Atlantic 10 and not just have good careers, have legendary careers in the Atlantic 10?
You know, growing up in Philadelphia, you were around greatness all the time at any gym that you went to. We learned how we were tough. We learned how to play the game the right way. We shared the game. We had great coaches. We had great mentors. So I really didn't have to go far. You know, I wanted to play in the Big Five for Coach Chaney, and I wanted to play in the Atlantic 10. It's what I grew up watching and seeing.
You know, it was a level of respect you had for yourself, you had for your so-called hood. You know, where I was from Atlantic City, you wanted to represent in the way where you made your people proud. I knew if I pushed Aaron McKie down at Gustine Lake and he pushed me, we both would benefit from that and get better, and our games were evolved into a place that we could play at an Atlantic 10 conference.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing is that you guys not only represented yourselves, your family, your city, but also your schools and the Atlantic 10, and not only as players, but also beyond. So, guys, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yep, Lou Rowe and Aaron McKie. Thank you, guys. We'll be back with more on A-10 Hoops Talk right after this. Welcome back to A-10 Hoops Talk, Beyond the Paint. All right, Phil Martelli, we got a couple big ones coming up right now, and I know these guys have left a lasting impression, one on the opposition, one on your bench during your years as a coach.
Two superstars. And I'm not talking about their play. I'm talking about who they are as individuals, how they've taken their brilliant college careers, brilliant pro careers, and now they're giving back to the game over and over and over. What an honor to call both of these young men my friends.
Well, first and foremost, three-time Atlantic 10 Player of the Year, David West out of Xavier, and Jameer Nelson out of St. Joseph's University, who also was an A-10 Player of the Year. Guys, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. I'm going to start there. David, I'll ask you first. What does it mean to you when you think about a three-time Atlantic 10 Player of the Year?
It was just one of those things. It was part of a goal that I set for myself. I was a four-year college guy. The idea of me being, pushed out of college early was something that I flirted with, but never seriously thought about. I needed the 4 years, and it's just a testament to, like that dedication, the desire to win, push myself, push my teammates, and try to be the best I could that year that I was playing in the league.
Well, and not only that, but Jameer, you won the Atlantic 10 Player of the Year your final season at St. Joseph's, which was an epic year. But you and David had some battles for that A-10 Player of the Year award. But what was it like to win that A-10 Player of the Year award?
Well, I only won it because David was no longer in the league, so
exactly
I appreciate he aged out, so he was kind enough to allow me to win the award. But no, the battles we had versus Xavier was probably some of the greatest that I've ever had in my career in general, even pro. I mean, those games were they were feisty, man. Like I remember, I'm not sure what year it was, but we played against those guys at home, and we double teamed David everywhere he went. He went to go get water. We had people making sure he wasn't coming back on the floor. Everything we had to do to get the ball out of his hands. He got so frustrated, I think he started to tear up a little bit. And I was like, man, let me get out of the way to do this.
Yo, you know what Jameer did? He pointed to me and said, "Yo, David, it was his idea."
Yeah, exactly.
Pointed like he was going to send it back to me.
Phil and I were talking about the 2003 game, the overtime game. Jameer, you had 33. David, you had 10 in overtime. You had more points than that, but you had 10 in overtime. Do you guys remember that game and remember those kind of battles?
I remember that game because that was the most shots I've ever taken in my life in any basketball game. And I think what happened was Delonte got suspended for whatever reason. And again, going back to my teammates, Dwayne Jones told me, if you don't shoot the ball every time, we don't have a chance. So I was like, I'm cramping, I'm tired. They're actually like carrying me to the bench during timeouts, and they're like, my teammates were rubbing my legs. They're like helping me get the cramps out, and I think I was 13 for 34, and I ended up with whatever. I was like, I was tired. They were like, you have to shoot the ball. And I'm like, there's no way I can get another shot.
You know, it was so close and so intimate that the words, like the fans, the energy, you felt everything. You could hear what the coach was saying, the assistant coaches are saying. It was literally like just that back and forth. And I just remember, you know, when we went into St. Joe's, we knew we were like, listen, man, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be pretty either. Like, we're going to just have to figure out a way to do what we have to do so we don't get run off the floor. Because before you got there, Jameer, we went in there with that attitude, and Marvin O'Connor and those boys ran us off the floor. It was a good little whooping we took going in there. So.
All right, I'm going to put both of you guys on a spot, probably Jameer more because Phil's sitting next to us, but talk about your respective head coaches and what they meant to you. Skip Prosser for you, David, and of course Phil for you, Jameer.
Well, Phil was more obviously coach, but like father figure, a mentor, now friend, grandpa, all that stuff for my kids. So it was a special bond that we've always had. So I think what he taught me and instilled in me was like leadership, accountability, and respect. I think those things I've carried throughout my entire career because as a coach, I'll never forget, I had issues managing time, and he wrote a simple ladder. I don't know if he remembers. He wrote a ladder on the board, and he put all these different things, and he taught me time management. And I carry that throughout my life, and I cherish those moments because you don't, like, especially in this day and age in college basketball, you don't have the authenticity or the organicness of that, you know, because I get it, it's pay to play, and guys should be getting paid to play basketball and other sports. But I don't know if they're getting taught the real lessons in life because they're not in universities as long as myself and David. And if they are in college, they're in 4 different colleges. So I don't know who they're going to get the real info from, you know, like what coach are you getting it from?
You know, kind of to just, you know, reiterate what Jameer was saying is a lot of guys missed that. Every day we walked into the court with Coach Prosser, he had the chalkboard out there on the floor and 12 chairs set up like a classroom. And he had a newspaper article from something that was going on in the news that he tied into a basketball lesson. That was every single practice.
Wow.
We went through that. And that changed us as men, right? He was investing in us as young men. Most of us are coaching. Most of us are doing something in the capacity that he taught us to be servants, right? And to help people and invest our time and energy into young people. So these are the things that these young players are missing now because the game and the sport has become so transactional. It's no longer relational. And it's affecting the players, and I think guys are missing out on like some of the things that we experienced because we had these organic relationships with really good coaches who wanted to see us become, even better people.
Well, guys, we are grateful that you have a thumbprint on the Atlantic 10, and we really appreciate you joining us here today. So thank you.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, for us, it's time to take a quick break. In our next segment, we will talk with 2 more recent stars in the Atlantic 10, TJ Cline and Briante Weber. Stay with us. Welcome back to A-10 Hoops Talk as we look at some of the great players in A-10 history. All right, Phil, when we talk about great players, sometimes we talk about great rivalries too. Give me an idea in your thoughts as a coach. how tough it is to be an A-10 player?
Well, because you have so many various venues, you have arenas, you have gyms. Teams are different when they play at home than when they play on the road. But you know what I always found when people say, who are the toughest teams to play against? I always answered one way: those with the best players. And both of these guys played on best teams because they were the best players.
All right, let's bring him in. TJ Cline was an Atlantic 10 Player of the Year when he was at Richmond, and Briante Weber was a 3-time, not once, not twice, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, and they join us now. Guys, we appreciate you joining us. You know, the VCU-Richmond rivalry is something we've always talked about. Give us an idea from your scope, first, Briante, what it was like in those city games that you guys played.
For us, we call them the black and blue games. We always used to claim, like, of course, we on Broad Street. We don't have flowers in our yards. We got concrete. we get roses from the concretes and the cracks. They got nice campus, nice green landscape. Bushes are nice. We got different story on the other side of town. So we always carried that little chip on our shoulder when we had those rivalry games.
What about you, TJ?
You're right. The biggest difference is the style, the campuses, not just like what he said, you know, the flowers versus the streets, this side versus that side, the West End versus downtown, but even the way we play. I mean, the way that Coach Mooney taught us how to play. Like, we're Princeton, we run the back door. We're going to try to use our options to, play the game the right way, outsmart you, and VCU is going to muck it up. And they're going to make you grind for 40 minutes, and they're going to make you work hard. So that's what made it really special.
So, TJ, give us a couple highlights from your career. What are things that, when you're sitting by yourself and you're rehabbing right now, what's that thing that you remember about playing at Richmond?
And I think all the memories, as you're saying it, I'm getting, goosebumps thinking about it just because of the special time I had. But I mean, if since we are on this talk and Bree's right here, obviously he was gone, but I think, one of the special moments I had was when we did play VCU. They were ranked, I think, 14 in the nation. They came to the Robins Center, and I think there was like, they do those analytics and statistics. It was like a 99% chance we were going to lose. We were down 3. They fouled us, which was smart. Shot could put us line, make your foul shots, make it a foul shot game. We missed the second foul shot, got tipped out of bounds. We ran one of our classic Richmond slips. I slipped to the basket, tied it up. We went in overtime, and that one specifically sticks out to me. Do it in front of the Robins Center against our biggest rival. That was probably one of my biggest memories I had at Richmond.
As I continue to play this game, that you're never going to shoot 100%. You just got to live with some percentages, and my percentage against those games is all I ever thought about was just winning. Just however you can help your team win, just win. No particular moment, just knowing I won. Now, of course, the last one was probably the most gruesome one, but
yeah,
it is what it is. I continue to play.
So, Bree, what values have you taken from your A-10 experience, your VCU experience? What has made you a pro's pro in what you're doing today? What the value, the characteristics that have lifted you to this level?
I would say for me, it would be just the ups and downs of basketball. Like through the A-10, through that gauntlet of playing and going on the road, to going to St. Joe's, to going to Richmond, to going to the Rhode Islands and the St. Bonaventures, the different types of settings that you're in. And then when, of course, you have NBA games, nothing like going to a European game, like being in Athens, Greece, or being, in Italy, or being in France. It's just, it gave me the resolve to be okay on the road.
TJ, what about values for you that you've taken from the Richmond program, the Atlantic 10 experiences?
Oh, I'll start with the Richmond. I think that one of the things we preached was never too high, never too low, even keel. And Coach Mooney talked about this when I went back a couple weeks ago. I said this in my speech to him, like, never too high, never too low, and that's something that stuck with me. It's like you can't ride life as a roller coaster. You got to accept the valleys, the mountains and the valleys as they are, and just stay right here with it. And Coach Mooney talks about that, and he's a big baseball guy, so he used to always say singles. You don't have to make the home run, just singles, being consistent, doing the same thing every day, little things.
Well, you got
And
Phil.
one of the things that I'd like to do On behalf of everybody in the Atlantic 10, thank you for the way you represented your families and your institutions. Briante, we didn't miss it, man. Congratulations. Your jersey is going in the rafters at VCU. We are so happy for you and your family and proud to have been a competitor against you.
Mashallah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Like I said, it was maybe differences in everything, but for me, that's probably one of the greatest accomplishments, even playing professional, just to know I'm cherished at a place that I only spent 4 years of my life at.
Well, you had
So
374 steals, so your jersey's up there, but also your hands are are all around too. So congratulations on that. And you know, TJ, obviously 1,909 points during your time at Richmond. You guys were great ambassadors for your schools and for the A-10. We appreciate you joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, well, stay with us on A-10 Hoops Talk. Coach Martelli will go into overtime about what it takes to be a great player in the A-10. Welcome back to A-10 Hoops Talk. It's now time for our overtime segment. And Phil, I know with this one, it's near and dear to your heart because players have changed so much over the years, but you have a message for the college basketball community and for the players.
I really appreciate this opportunity to share. In today's game, with player freedom to move and the ability to rightfully capitalize on their name, image, and likeness, we can get skeptical about the professionalization of college basketball. Despair not. This great game can and will have a dramatic impact on the players' lives beyond the years that they represent their respective institutions. All young players strive to play at the professional level, but the reality is that most won't reach those awesome heights. What coaches and administrators want for them is to utilize their opportunity that is college basketball to become a better person, to get on the path to college graduation, and to become the best player that their skills, work ethic, and coaching permits. You are much more than your stats. Always remember you are representing your family name, your school, your coaches, the program, and your teammates. You must demand of yourself and others that you are respected for whom you are, not for your game. You will receive great attention. With this comes great responsibility. Embrace it.
That's such a great message for everybody out there. And I think our guest today signified everything that you just talked about. So that was awesome. For Phil Martelli, I'm Tom McCarthy. Until next time, we appreciate you watching A-10 Hoops Talk.